Hi, and welcome back to part 5 of our walkthrough of John O'Callaghan's Big Sky with Chris Agnelli. Chris, so we're going to be talking about vocals. Obviously, you've worked with Audrey in the past, and you've written with her as well.
Yep.
What's she like to work with? And I suppose I've worked with her as well, but
Pain in the bloody arse.
she's incredibly talented.
Yeah,
Lady, like
very talented lady, and
beautiful melodies, great lyricist.
when you can get the lyrics, I'm sure Audrey won't mind me saying this. Maybe she will, but like we've talked, Audrey's mad in that she lyrics are always last for her.
Yeah,
And she told me a story when she was in her previous band called Sheer. She was out touring with Liz Fraser from Cocteau Twins.
yeah.
And they were playing music to a live audience, to a big audience, and Audrey had not written the lyrics for some of the songs they were performing, and she was totally bluffing every night the song, and she was like, la, la, la. But as part of Audrey's sort of thing is that it's almost Liz Fraser. If you don't know Liz Fraser, go and Google her. And
She's Cocteau Twins. They made up new words for all her songs.
Yeah,
It's all
and
sort
she
of just
did
random words. And
Teardrop with Massive Attack, a massive song. But
what's Las Vegas? What's the big Cocteau Twins track? Something in Las Vegas. It's like all made up words.
yeah, and Audrey's very much from that school. I've written a track with her where Audrey sang sort of gibberish down a microphone, give it to me. And it was beautiful vocal line, but no words. And after 30 listens, I had
It's just sort of like just trying to get the
you're scatting a little bit, but yeah. And again, with holding on to nothing, the when we sleep vocal came from, she was, and I just heard that section and went, Audrey, that's it. That's her verse. And then we wrote the chorus together.
And obviously, where Audrey's sort of fortunate, I guess, that her boyfriend or boyfriend still, Neil Calderwood, happens to run Manor Park, one of the best studios in Northern Ireland.
Yeah. So she has access to, I think with this track, I recorded Holding On To Nothing in our studio.
Okay. What did you use for that?
For mic-wise and stuff.
Yeah.
We had the TLM, the Neumann TLM 103.
103, so like the smaller Neumann.
Yeah, smaller Neumann. Really suited her vocals, and I don't think we even had a voice channel, or it was probably straight into the Mackie desk and EQ into the computer. Try to keep it as sort of clean as possible, and then
you
EQ.
can process afterwards.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with Holding On To Nothing that killed it, was the harmony that just sort of interwove underneath it. It was kind of incredible. So
Cool.
with this, John had sent her the backing track. She, collaborated with John. I don't know, and recorded it. Her sort of partner recorded it. So it's in a really good studio. So it's kind of a nice vocal. And I suppose the takeaway from this, there's 13 tracks of drums, 3 basses, maybe 10 tracks of pads and stuff. There are, 3 or 4 vocal tracks. So
Yeah.
there's not that much I did with the vocals. There was a... So let's go through the
Yeah, let's have a listen to Vocals Dry.
I know this silence, been here before. I'm walking
It sounds like there's still some
reverb.
on your buses there, maybe.
This is a sense of things to come.
So, there's...
This innocence.
Yeah, cool. Sound nicely
Yeah,
recorded.
they're
vocals.
nicely recorded. So you're immediately not having to do major surgery. So again...
And the arrangement of the vocals, I mean, it's different than John's, or
I'm not that familiar with John's, so yeah, it's verse, chorus.
and would you? I mean, obviously, verse chorus sort of lends itself to naturally that, but in a terms of a remix, would you try and keep the original song as intact as possible? And
I do actually. If it's a vocal that I had to remix, I would always try and keep the vocal, because that's the song. And I slightly disagreed with remixers that would take one sort of half a line and
loop it up.
And I always thought it was they were crowbar and they made this backing track and then tried to put the vocal on and went, oh, the vocal doesn't work with this, so let's chop one bit of the vocal out.
Yeah, I mean, Arvine and Misk, who did a walkthrough of a couple of tracks for Sonic as well, were saying the same thing. You know, that they now that they're getting remixes off big labels, Universal and all those sort of guys, that you know, you kind of have to keep the song as intact as possible. Doesn't mean you can't do cool stuff around it with the vocal, but you know, you want that verse chorus element. So
Definitely. I mean, if I took on a remix of a song, it was because I liked the song. You know, it did Louise from if you're in the UK, she was from the band Eternal. Jimmy Redknapp's wife now, and did her track. I kept the whole, you know, the whole song because
I remember that track.
Yeah, Two Faced. You should go and look it up. It's got no bottom end. So yeah.
And so what have you got on the vocals then?
So it's
bit of compression.
Bit of compression, which we'll probably open up and find out. Oh yeah, actually it is working, and no side tuning. So gentle enough, you know, ratio of 4, slowish attack.
And what's so 10 milliseconds attack? What does that do? Is it sort of just lets a wee bit of the consonants through.
Yeah, just you know, it's not going to
quite a quick release there as well. So
yeah, because I think we can see in the waveform there's a bit of dynamic range.
Yeah.
But again, with my cautious.
And what have you got? You got it on peak. So you're really just sort of trying to get rid of any of the real high peaks, but keep a tiny bit of that sort of.
Yeah, because I
intact.
don't need to crush the. I need the vocal to sort of nicely sit on top, you know.
Yeah.
So now we're bringing it again.
And when you're sort of programming your EQ, are you aware what you're trying to achieve and then sort of dialing it in, or you just go on the attack and I'm listening and just...
I sweep through, I would, you know, like sort of bring that up to that and sweep down and find, you know, is that nice, is that horrible, and then pull it back and back up and stuff. So, yeah, you know, what am I doing here? Let's have a listen in solo. Again, it's all in context, you know. If I take... Let's go back and see what this is. Probably not. Yeah, so we're just adding a bit of presence there, you know. You can hear it to 400 hertz. So there you go. It's kind of dull and a bit, you know.
Not bit of warmth maybe there.
Not.
Bit of body.
And there's body and there's sort of presence and bringing out the. I'm always a fan of the 7,000 to 9,000 hertz just sibilance. Yeah, that sort of.
And do you use any de-esser or anything on it?
I don't, and because I've been a bit silly and thought you didn't need to use de-essers because vinyl was dead.
Yeah.
But you know, she's not. I mean, it's
not a sibilancy vocal, is it?
Yeah,
really?
No, it's not. But apparently you do need to use de-essers still, and I didn't know that. Because I was always using de-essers because of vinyl and breaking up when we're cutting vinyl. Again,
I used to always get when I was doing a vocal track, you know, I always like to have them real bright and stuff, and I used to have to use quite a bit of de-esser, and I always find that after 20 minutes of using a de-esser, you can't tell what's normal in S's anymore.
Right.
And you start, you know, second guessing yourself and not knowing it, and it can be difficult to sort of.
I always found it give the person a lisp.
Yeah.
You could thumbtime to get them to talk like that here. You would use it sometimes in studio to make it
start sounding like F's.
Yeah. So we apparently have a tape delay on. So they're
quite a real tight sort of.
So there you go. It's a really short delay. Slight feedback.
It's almost like an ambient sort of room thing.
It's kind of nice.
Gives a bit of width as well.
And we've got a flutter rate, which is, again, I love on this tape delay. It's like an LFO and you have an intensity. So it's like, once the delays start coming back, they start wavering then. And it's just, I've used it in this big reverb.
Yeah, cool. And what's the LFO modulating then? It's just is it the actual time? As it says that?
It's delays. It's modulating these here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's once the delays are happening, so it's the feedback of the delays. It starts modulating that, so you can get, you know, a few milliseconds of delay, nice, and then it starts. You know.
We love, we leave,
yes.
we take, we give.
Yes. You kind of, if you get
a tail on it.
Yeah.
Ah, right,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
And there's a very interesting effect. So yeah, tape delay gives it that sort of just roominess. This is our big.
It's come and gone.
That's can you hear that big tail?
Big
Again,
hole.
But that's a tape delay feeding into a reverb.
Right, okay.
So the delays are getting reverbed and then compressed.
Right, okay.
So I always love this.
It's sort of in the same vein as a lot of atmospheric stuff. You're
Mhm.
building up layers of
Well, that's. I mean, I probably have sent all the pads and stuff to that same reverb,
yeah.
to give us an overall,
Wall.
sense of,
Yeah.
and also sense of space. So 3 is Space Designer. How interesting, because I didn't think Space Designer was invented. And it's a dab into that. I'm not sure why. So let's go back to 1 and take that off.
It's like a
It's
room
chorusy, yeah, mid space, and
Chorusy.
there's a
ensemble on it.
ensemble on it. So it's just to give it a bit of chorus. 7 is a tape. Do you think I'm over egging this vocal? Do you think of enough effects? Another tape delay. Good God, what am I thinking of?
What's this? Is it really long?
Yeah. Let me go back to 3. In fact, it's not being sent. Look, you can see there's nothing. And 8 is, oh my God.
It is that big sort of delay at the end, is it? That sort of tail.
Yeah, that's, could be worse. So we have it like this sort of delay at the end. Oh, there you go. Sorry. 7 is that tape delay. So, which really worked in Hold On. It's this kind of off. It's not on the beat. It's kind of on the third.
It's on like third,
Yeah.
6 or.
So again, that took forever to program. It's the right amount of feedback, the right delay point, the right,
Time to bring it in,
yeah,
so you get
the right send, to
Yeah.
get, and that is literally spending 2 hours just changing that point, that node. And 8, let's see what 8 is. So, again, it's probably all way too much.
Well, I mean,
You know,
it
but
obviously
it
works.
all-
So
So that's the main vocal. I had a vocal treatment then, so it is just let's go back to that vocal, clear that solo.
is it harmonies then, or
No, this is the same track, just doubled
right?
telephone voice, on ring shifter.
So it's a spooky sort
Yeah.
of.
coming in on choruses and stuff. Just how much does it add?
Yeah, well,
You know,
you
it
can hear
does,
it, you
yeah.
hear it.
So here we have again.
And where would you have got the idea for that? Where does that come from? Thinking, oh well, I'll create another vocal track here underneath it, and I'll make it sound like a telephone and put some weird delays on it.
I think probably. Do you want me to name drop here? I was in studio recording Damien Rice. Do you remember Damien Rice?
Yes.
Yes, his first album, and I was in Windmill Lane, so it was a big SSL room with big producers. It wasn't the album, it was another band he was with, and we were recording. And this was a technique that the producer, who'd worked with Flood, if you know Flood, like one of the world's biggest producers, and this is what they did. And so when you start working with these people, or I work with you and see you doing something, I'll always be in the background going,
And do you think that's maybe lost a bit now? That you're not that those bits of information aren't being passed down directly. I suppose. Well, maybe we're trying to help with.
we're doing that.
Sonic Academy,
that's but yeah, that interaction. I think
We learned a lot from each other when we were in the studio
It's-
together.
But that was invaluable, Phil, because we didn't have any Sonic Academy. We had no university courses or no digital media in schools, or we were completely on our own to try and figure this whole thing out. You know, this computer music and dance music, and
I think Future Music was like the first first magazines had just come out, and you
Yeah.
got some samples, and it
got
was
some
only
sam-
really
yeah, and it was like you just had to stumble across things. There's so much information out there now. You can go on YouTube, a how to. You can get on Sonic Academy. You can find out. So yeah, you just had to be a sponge and absorb where you could, and always. And I think that was the thing, that information was so vital that you really took it in,
yeah.
and took it on board and tried it.
It must be hard now for sort of a new beginner getting into the thing. You know, there's so much information out there now. How do you, even on our site, we've hundreds of hours of videos. You
Yeah.
know, what do you know? How do you know what to
where to start,
where
and
to start, and
yeah, it's kind of that that thing that you just need to take something away from everything if you can, to try. And I think that vocal treatment was, in fact, what they did with the second vocal, and I didn't do here, was his main vocal was sung. They bust that to another track, and they put a delay on it, and they gated it from the drums, and it was like a like a live drummer, and delays and stuff. So you got, and filtered it all out. So you had this top end stutter gatery things, and swirling around, and it sounded amazing.
cool.
And this guy, the producer at the time, was a guy called Rob Kerwin, who was Flood sidekick, and this is what Flood would have done with U2 and Depeche Mode.
And is it just, it's about the sort of creative and musical part of production,
Yeah.
and even they're just recording bands. There's an element beyond just getting a good recording and making it sound well mixed. There's a creative element there that you're looking to do something new and interesting that isn't just your main riff, your kick, your things.
It's I one thing I would hope every people can get an insight here is that this DM delay that I use is not a normal trancey sound. That hammer lead is not a trancey sound. This vocal here sits in the background, but I think once we solo things and add things, you can start to see it's just these subtle layers. That's what I was really into. It's just I don't ram any riffs home or have massive kicks and big bass line. It's all.
Yeah, I'm sure if you took all this sort of more creative stuff that you're maybe not directly hearing, that the track just becomes then less interesting overall. The feeling of the track becomes.
So I think that was just a small pickup, on the chorus. I think the wee. Yeah, so it comes over that wee oh, and then out. So what we have backing vocals as well, and that's I think.
Just a duplicate of the track.
No, this is BVs. This is actual backing vocals.
It's come and gone.
So there, I think there's a standard Logic, channel strip of creamy backing vocals, and it's
Right, okay.
it's a lot of
Vocal doubler,
vocal
ensemble.
doubler, chorus ensemble to give it that really creamy texture. So, guys, if you're doing backing vocals, trans.
It's a big sky. Reveal yourself. It's a big sky.
Now let me hear that first big, because there's a sort of pop there.
Release yourself. It's a big sky.
That's, it's because we've probably.
Release yourself. It's a big sky.
Yeah. So we did filter the bottom end out, taking that pop out. And FB delay again, so we have, this is just a feedback delay. Sky, it's just taking little elements. And the one other element, we've two other elements to go. At the start, we have this ooh
Okay.
that I absolutely loved, because it just, again, reminded me of a Depeche Mode thing. Right here. That's just beautiful. Let's take that in. You know, it's
Yeah, it kind of builds up that layer of
it's-
atmosphere, and
and we've got a vocal treat here. I don't know what that is. Let's have a listen.
so
It's not. Oh yeah. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, so that's just the O's, and that at the start that sort of
that combination between the ooh and the oh.
yeah, but it also introduces, you know, here's the vocal and here's a little snippet of what the vocal is
yeah,
going to do.
it's going to be a vocal track.
And yeah, the last element we had in the breakdown was breathe in this moment, you know. So just heavily delayed because we're having a big build-up section. That's us, and,
Cool.
and slight, it's just a wee. I suppose at this point we have that oh and a wee stutter, and that's it. So
Very
quite
cool.
quite simplistic. A lot of effects and a lot of choruses going on, but you know,
I suppose when you've got a really good vocal, you don't need to do a huge amount to it to get it to
No.
sit or. Cool. Okay, so in the next one, we're going to look at all these millions of spot effects and see what's going on there and what they add to the track.